Hello everyone. It's been a couple of years since I did an update on WhiteWorms, and it's one of the most common things for me to get questions about when I go around doing talks to clubs and in my messages and stuff. So what I'm using right now is what I've been using for years. Any kind of whole wheat bread. I'm particularly fond of the Arnold because the worms seem to really like it. How much of the bread you need depends on how many worms you've got. I've got 5 containers right now, so I usually go through close to 2 slices. One of the most important things to do is to feed them every 2 days. It's so easy to slip to a 3 days or 4 days, and when you do that, your worms is not as healthy as you want them to be. And when your worms aren't healthy and they're not eating and reproducing, that encourages problems with the mites and other little beasties that grow in there. I'm going to cut this up into little manageable squares. Then I make it myself. This is plain yogurt made with whole wheat milk. Made this yesterday. And then a nutritional yeast flakes. This is not the yeast that you use baking bread with. This is the kind of yeast like the bodybuilder people will use. Or this is incredibly good stuff for you. Let me see if I can get this. Look at the vitamins, nutritional content of this stuff. Now this is what is going to be mixed in with the yogurt and the whole wheat bread. That's going to be in the guts of the WhiteWorms, which means this nutritional value is what you're going to be feeding to your fish. If you feed them just white bread and milk, there's nothing there but just empty sugary calories. If you're feeding them this kind of stuff, you're gut loading the WhiteWorms with incredible nutrition, which you're then passing along to your fish. Now, I was thinking a little while ago, I don't know why I cut the bread into strips. I could cut it into squares. You know, you could do anything. I guess 10 years of habit means I cut it into squares. I've got 5 tubs to mix this bread through, and I got to put enough stuff on there that it lasts 2 days. So I want it to be spread around enough that the worms don't have to all travel over to one little corner. I want the food mixed, spread out across my little tub. So you let that frozen bread sit out a couple of minutes and it gets soft enough to cut. You don't want to leave it out too long because it'll get so soft that it's hard to cut because it just gets too soft and spongy. And I'm going to scoop in here, pull out some of this yogurt. My yogurt always comes out lumpy. I don't know why. I even added a little bit of pectin to this and it came out lumpier than usual, I think. Tastes fantastic. It's just not all spiffy, spotless, creamy like your store-bought stuff. But the ingredient list is pretty simple on this. It's yogurt starter and lightly pasteurized, non-homogenized whole milk. You actually have to poke a hole with a knife through the top of the milk to get through the cream and then stir it up real good. So that may be some of why it's watery, is it's such a rich milk. So I'm going to spread this on here. Always nice to lick the spoon. Then on goes the yeast. This nutritional stuff is going to grow some great bacteria that the wormies will eat. They'll be gut loaded with all this stuff, and I pass all this nutrition right into my fish. What you're going to get then is a higher protein level, a lower fat level. People tell you if you feed too many WhiteWorms, they're too fatty. Well, it's because they're fed less than optimal foods. Alright, now this is now ready to go. So we'll reset up and I'll show you feeding it to the worms.